Thanks for staying with us on World Now. Now to the war in Gaza. Israeli forces have killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in Gaza. There has been no comment from Hamas on Sinwar, who succeeded Ismail Haniyeh after his assassination by Israel in July. However, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this is not the end of the war in Gaza, despite killing Hamas's leader. Let's take a look at this next report.
Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has been confirmed murdered by the Israeli forces, just as the deceased was recorded to be top on Israel's most wanted list, being the long-sought-after mastermind behind the over one-year attack on Israel. Sinwar's body was identified by DNA records after Israeli troops attacked a building in Rafah during a search for Hamas members, although Hamas remains silent. Meanwhile, the United Nations says an Israeli airstrike on a school-turned-shelter in Jabalia has killed 28 people. Israel believed that the murdered Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar was the chief architect of the militant group's deadly October 7, 2023 terror attack that set off the war in Gaza. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Sinwar's death marks the beginning of the day after Hamas, as he vows that Israel would continue fighting Hamas in Gaza until the hostages are returned home. Report says during his discussion of Sinwar's death with the U.S. President Joe Biden, there was an agreement of an opportunity to advance the release of hostages in Gaza.
Today, the Chancellor and I will discuss regional security in the Middle East, including the ongoing domestic efforts regarding Lebanon and Gaza. The death of the leader of Hamas represents a moment of justice. He had the blood of Americans and Israelis, Palestinians and Germans and so many others on his hands. I told the Prime Minister of Israel yesterday, let's also make this moment an opportunity to seek a path to peace, a better future in Gaza without Hamas. And I look forward to discussing Iran. Olaf and I spoke the morning after Iran launched 200 ballistic missiles at Israel earlier this month.
The United States of America officials, both past and present, spoke in response to the killing that they are glad and delightful. Vice President Kamala Harris, giving her remarks on Thursday, emphasized that in the past year, according to President Biden's directive, American special operations and intelligence personnel have been working closely with the Israeli counterpart to locate and track Sinwar and other Hamas leaders. U.S.
Broadcaster Times Radio Henry Bonso joins me from Brixton in London. Good to have you join us on World Now. This is the second heavy blow on Hamas in 4 months, with its leaders killed in succession. What's the implication of Yahya Sinwar's death on the lingering war?
Well, I think it's very significant because he was a chief target for Israel. We've already had Ismail Haniyeh, who was the political leader, and remember also the allies of Hamas in Hezbollah have seen a devastation to their military operations. They've had their own leader, Hassan Nasrallah, killed at the end of September, and the killing and injuring of some 3,000 personnel through walkie-talkie attacks and other digital attacks as well. So the big question is, what happens now? Hamas is going to take its time before it nominates a new leader, because it knows that whoever is nominated will certainly be in the crosshairs of the Israelis. And the question also is whether or not Israel will listen to its allies in the US, in Germany, the UK, France, and de-escalate and bring down the level of intensity, especially in northern Gaza, where some 345,000 or so people are trapped. They cannot move, and they are desperately in need of food aid. And there's increasing internal displacement across the northern Israeli border in Lebanon, where over 1 million people are internally displaced, and some 300 or so thousand have moved across the border into Syria. So the question is, what does Netanyahu do now? He's got the wind in his sails. He feels he's winning. His approval ratings in Israel are up, and he will want to go further.
Indeed, what would Netanyahu do? But he said that this is not the end of the war in Gaza, despite the killing of Yahya Sinwar. So what's going to happen?
Well, he will try and identify, or his IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, will try and identify the other leaders of Hamas, those who still remain, and take them out, kill them. Let's remember, Netanyahu depends on this war for his political survival at home and also to rehabilitate himself, because his reputation in Israel was Bibi. I am Netanyahu. I am the guy who keeps you safe, which is why he's the longest serving Prime Minister of Israel. But the colossal failures of October the 7th, 2023, have been laid at his door. And it will be very hard, if not impossible, for him to restore his reputation. But he will be able to rehabilitate himself to a degree if he can get the remaining hostages out and ensure that Hamas is never a force again. The problem is you cannot defeat an idea. And so long as the conditions that led to the birth of Hamas are still there, the occupation, the terrible, miserable conditions for people living in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, the treatment of Palestinians, both in their own territories and also in Israel proper, these are the kind of things that those who want to see a long-term peace agreement will want to settle, but also self-governance for the Palestinians. Is there any chance of a two-state solution? At the moment, that seems miles away. If Yahya Sinwar thought, when he gave the green light for the atrocious attack on October the 7th last year, he was going to bring about a regional war in which Hezbollah and Iran were going to destroy Israel, well, he destroyed himself and he's brought misery on his people.
And you know, Hamas is yet to comment on this. What do you expect their response to be, or would this be their allies coming to defend them?
Well, Hamas have made a statement. Their political office have made a statement. Khalil al-Hayya, who is at their political bureau in Qatar, and he says that Sinwar's death, let me quote, will only increase the strength and solidarity of our movement. And he also went on to say that this is a continuation. So Sinwar's death is a continuation of the caravan, he called it, of great martyrs of the founding of Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, who was assassinated. He was the founder of Hamas. He was assassinated by the Israelis in 2004. So there is no doubt that something will come after Hamas. The question is what it will be. Will it be as radical? Will it be ideological? Will it be based in religion? Or will it be more politically based? And will it be able to work together with its rivals in the West Bank, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO? That remains to be seen. And also, what also remains to be seen is what Qatar does, because they are the hosts of the Hamas in exile in Doha. What pressure will they bring to bear on them? What pressure will Egypt bring to bear? Also Jordan and the other regional entities.
All right then. Broadcaster Times Radio, Henry Bonsu, thank you for talking to us on World Now.
Thank you.
Away from that, Liam Payne's former